Hi everybody, it's McDonald speaking. Thank you for joining us for this week's ICE commentary for the US dollar index and currency markets. Looking at the dollar index, what happened last week? We kind of drifted down a little bit and put in this lower high, as expected, moving back down towards this major support level on the monthly, which we'll look at more closely in a minute. We came down, we had a little bit of a blip though, where we came right back up and broke above that high. If we look at this on a 15-minute chart, you can see what happened here. We were tracking down quite nicely, then we came up and we pushed up through all of this resistance. In fact, you'll note, if I just maximize this chart, you'll note that we came up into this resistance area, and in fact the first time we tested it, we fell off it, but then we broke up through it, looking really strong. But then even quicker than we went up, we came right down again. We smashed right back down through that, rejected very quickly, and we came back down and made new lows again from where we started that move up. So that, in fact, even though it temporarily started to look like a little bit of a blip in terms of, maybe this was putting in a higher low and moving higher, in fact, the way we rejected that high is just a sign of the continuing bearishness of this market. We tried to go higher, we failed to go higher, we're still now looking like going lower, still here looking very bearish. So coming and having a look at this weekly chart, you can see we've come down and we're testing that support level again. We're at 76. This is now for me having that price action on the daily chart is now setting up for a test down below 75. So I'm really keen on this now, looking for it to break down below. Any break up, of course, any break up through this last week's high will be a change of that. So we've got around about 76.90 as where I'd switch back into bullish mode, but the fact that we broke up and failed so strongly is just really showing to me a test down below these lows. Just come in and having a look at this on the monthly chart. We're still moving down. We're a bit overextended from the averages, but we're in the middle of our move. It's not an extended move yet. We've made a lower high. We're looking like pushing down. When I say it's not an extended move, we haven't made a lower low yet. We're only just nudging this previous low here, and now we're looking to make a lower low. I'm looking for a breakdown well below these lows, a break below 7,500, before we then get a retracement and decide in which direction we go. But this is starting to look really bearish. I'm looking for the breakdown. Now let's have a look at some of the currency market, some of the spot market, and have a look at exactly what's been happening. Now the US dollar has been very weak. Now let's look, for example, at the euro. It's been weak against the euro. The euro's shown some real strength here last week. It's been weak against the Canadian dollar. If we look at this here, again last week, very, very bearish week for the US dollar. A couple that aren't in the dollar index but are still very important is the Aussie dollar. Look at just how strong the Aussie dollar has been versus a weak US, and then equally the Kiwi dollar. Look at just how strong here the Kiwi dollar has been last week versus a very weak US. So you might ask, therefore, well, why isn't the dollar index already falling down below 76? Because it's looking so weak against these currencies. And the answer is that there's a couple of things that are propping it up, and in particular the Japanese yen. So here the US dollar is really strong versus a very weak yen. There's all sorts of stuff going on in Japan, as we know. There's all sorts of stuff going on in the currency markets as well, and we're just seeing a really weak dollar here versus a strong yen, and a really strong dollar versus a weak yen, and this is kind of tweaking the performance of the dollar index a little bit, and it's keeping the dollar index propped up. Equally, we have a very weak British pound, which is making the dollar look strong as well. These are two, the JPY and the GBP are both pretty heavy weightings in the dollar index, and therefore these are both, holding the dollar index up a little bit. If everything was weak, then of course the dollar index would already be breaking down. It really is the Japanese yen which is keeping it propped up right now. So I'm also, by the way, looking, if we just come back to the Japanese yen, I'm looking for a bit of weakness to come back into this, and I think that will really help the dollar index push lower. One of the reasons is that this is going up is there's a lot of intervention in the markets, and intervention tends to usually be a temporary measure. It's a temporary fix to keep prices propped up, or to keep prices going the way central banks want them to go. This has got overextended now and is due a sell-off. If not a complete correction, at least a sell-off back towards probably 82 to 82.50 kind of area. So we're due a bit of a pullback there, which is going to help the dollar index move down. GBP not really so decisive, not as much as cable, but not as much as JPY, but nonetheless we're still within an uptrend here. I'd expect to see cable push on as well, which in turn will help push the dollar index down. So with everything here looking, with most of the currencies looking so strong versus a weak dollar, that's saying the dollar should be going down. With cable in a weekly uptrend and looking like that should push on versus a weak dollar, that's also going to help it, the dollar index move down. And if I'm right on the intervention failing eventually in the JPY, that also, at least in the short term, at some stage there will help the dollar index fall down. All of those things are why I'm quite confident of this move downward here. I also like it, obviously, technically, coming back to what we said at the start, the lower high having come in, then the rejection of that high when we tried to go higher, everything here looking weak across the daily, the weekly, and the monthly, as well as across the other spot currencies. Signs are pointing downward. So just to clarify, I'm looking for a move down towards 75 and beyond, probably more like 74 to 74.50. And what will change my mind is really looking at this weekly chart, and I'll be looking for any break up above last week's high. So that big high that we came up and we looked at on the 15-minute chart, we came right up and rejected. Pretty much the high of last week. If we come right up to 76.80, 76.90, that kind of area, if we can get up above there, that's going to be looking very strong. It's going to mean we're rejecting this downside. But at the moment, signs for me are pointing, the probability is pointing to the downside and a break lower. Hope that helps everybody. Have a wonderful week's trading. I just have one other quick announcement to make, and that is, as I stated, we were looking to put on an event for to raise money for Japan and for Christchurch in New Zealand, which is my home country. We've got this event ready to go now, and here it is here, tradingsymposium.com. I encourage you to check it out. We've got some fantastic traders. We've got Larry Williams confirmed. We've got Linda Bradford-Rescue. We've got Jack Schwager. We've got myself speaking. We've got a whole bunch of other fantastic name speakers. Please have a look at the website. We've got some great sponsors, including ICE. I'd like to thank ICE for sponsoring this event and for letting me mention it on these videos. Please come and have a look. We're not charging any money for it. We're simply asking that you go and donate to either Christchurch or Japan. Money goes straight to the Red Cross, and no money hits our pockets whatsoever. The sole purpose of this event is to raise money for those that need it. So please have a look, please give generously, and please read the site for more details, and you'll be able to join us for all the events that we have running. Most of them will be running throughout May. But please make a donation as soon as you can, and you will be confirmed to join us for those events and see some absolutely fantastic traders sharing their trading knowledge for you, all for charity. Happy trading all.